Now before we get into the video, I just want to apologize because I had a lot going on in this video. I'm still getting used to talking with braces in my mouth, and something was up with the focus on the camera, so at times it might be a little hard to read what's on the board. So if you have any issues or questions about anything I might have said or wrote on the board, just let me know in the comment section and I'll do my best to reply and try to explain it. Alright, now let's get into the video. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm David McGill, and in this video I'm going to break down how I grew my trucking company from 1 to 3 trucks in just a few months. Now, before I break down the numbers, I need to give y'all a little bit of backstory. Initially, when I started my trucking company, I had goals to move freight for this particular customer that required you to have your operating authority active for at least 6 months. So my initial plan was to just get my authority set up, and I wouldn't run my truck for 6 months. I would just continue to pay the insurance until my authority aged. Then I would work with that particular broker. Now that was my initial plan, but I ended up meeting a driver through a mutual friend who was out of work and was interested in driving for me. So I figured we'd go ahead on and give it a go, and I try to find loads on the load board until my authority was 6 months old. Now, keep in mind, I had a day cab, so it wasn't a whole lot of freight that I could really move and have my driver home every day. But I was able to find, a few loads, and I would say on about the third or fourth load, I came across this broker who the load was like 400 miles for the whole trip, and the broker had this load every day. So we actually ended up running it Monday through Friday. I pretty much got it dedicated. There was some consistent freight. So let's go over the numbers on how this all came about. So the load paid $750, and I was using a factoring company, so my factoring fee was 3%, so that was like $22. The fuel on this was like $225 a day. The driver pay was $240, and that included the payroll taxes. Now, I didn't have a trailer, so I was renting a trailer, and that trailer was $250 a week. So it was $50 a day. So my gross profit was $212 a day. Now remember, this is Monday through Friday. Now a week, so if this is my gross profit per day, then my gross profit per week was about 1,060, just call it 1,060. Now the gross profit per month was this 1,060 times 4.3, which was about $4,500 or so. Now the insurance on the truck was $1,500 a month. So if I subtract it out, my insurance, that was about a $3,000 per month gross profit running 5 loads a week. Now at one point my driver needed a day off, so I've reached out to some other friends of mine who had drivers, and I was able to get a driver to cover a load for me. And after that driver covered that load, he told me about a friend that he had who was looking for work. So he got us in contact with one another, and this driver, he agreed to work on weekends since he was out of work. So working on weekends was gonna be good for him, because he just needed to make some extra money. So I ended up running this load on Saturday and Sunday as well. Now, the beauty of running this load on Saturday and Sunday, the numbers for the most part stayed the same, with the exception of the trailer rent. Because I was paying $250 a week, and I was factoring that into my 5-day-a-week runs, Saturday and Sunday was essentially free. So the gross profit per day on the weekends was actually $262, because I didn't have to pay the trailer. So Monday through Friday, I was making $1,000 gross per week, and when you added the $262 that I was making on Saturday and Sunday, that put my gross weekly profit number to like $1,588 or so. Now, to figure out what that was monthly, I took, we could take the $1,588 gross profit per week and multiply it by 4.3. And we got $6,826, so roughly $6,800. Now, because this was the exact same truck and the insurance didn't change, even though I was working the truck an extra 2 days a week, the insurance was still a flat rate of $1,500. So my net profit running 7 days a week was $5,300 for the month. Now, after doing this for a couple of months, I called Gerard over at Rush Truck Center. That's the place where I bought my first truck from. I called him back, and I bought a second day cab from him. I was able to get the day cab for, it was like $13,000. So you can see, after just running a few months making $5,300 a month, I was able to just roll that money into a second truck. Now, on this second truck, I took the driver from the weekend and I made him a full-time driver. So he was now working Monday through Friday as well. So now I'm working 2 trucks Monday through Friday. So if you're following the numbers, I went from doing 5 loads a week, and that gave me a profit of $3,000 a month. And then I went to 7 days a week, and that gave me a profit of $5,300 based on 10 loads. I'm sorry, based on 7 loads. Now, once we went from 7 to 10 loads a week, which it was 2 loads a day, Monday through Friday, we were now profiting $6,000 a week. Right there, I meant $6,000 in profit per month, not per week. Well, both trucks were still sitting. They were now sitting Saturday and Sunday. So I hired 2 drivers for the weekends who wanted to make, weekend cash again. So now the trucks are doing 14 loads a week. And the profit on those 14 loads was just a little over $10,000. Now, if you remember, I only paid $13,000 for the second truck. Now you can see, at making $5,000 a month and buying a truck for $13,000, it didn't take very long before I was able to get the second truck. Now, when I bought the second truck, I did run into a setback, because if you guys have seen my previous video on my $6,000 mistake, truck number 2 is the one that ended up costing me $6,000 for a high pressure fuel pump. But once that was taken care of, we were back running, 2 trucks, 14 loads a week. Now by the time we were nearing the 6-month mark of my operating authority, other loads had became available, so we were mixing and matching freight a little bit throughout the week. But as I was getting closer and closer to that 6 months, things were actually starting to get a little shaky with this dedicated route. Now eventually when this started to slow up, and I'm assuming it happened because the broker and the shipper, there was probably some competition from another broker that either the broker might have lost the contract or the rate got undercut or whatever the case was. But at this point, I was at the point where I was ready to move on to my initial plan, my original plan. Now things had kind of changed with that plan between the broker, the new broker, and the customer that I was planning on working with. But it worked out in my favor because the customer rolled out a program where you could work directly with them, and instead of going through a broker. And one stipulation was you had to have at least 3 trucks. So I just took the money from the profit of the first 2 trucks, and I called Gerard again, and this time he was able to sell me my 3rd truck for $13,500, and it was either 13 or 13,500. It was one of the two. And so once I rolled the money into that, we then had 3 trucks, and that's when I was, running the freight, the power only freight. So I was able to get rid of the trailers that I was renting, and it was a lot easier to, have work for my drivers being home every day. Now in the future video, I'll talk about how I went from 3 trucks to 5 trucks, but for now, at least you have the details behind how I was able to go from 1 to 3 trucks in a short period of time. Now one thing to take away from this video is this whole thing was never planned. Remember, initially my plan was just park the truck and I was just gonna wait 6 months. But then these different opportunities started to present themselves that I didn't see ahead of time. And I'm sure other trucking business owners out there can attest to the fact that sometimes you don't know exactly how things are going to shake out, but once you're running your business, occasionally you'll get an email or a phone call that might change the trajectory of your intended business. Because my initial plan for my trucking business was to just start with 1 truck and put some money to work and let that money make more money for me. I had no plans on running a trucking fleet, buying a fleet, any of that stuff. But the opportunities presented themselves, and within the first 13 months, I had bought 5 trucks. Now hopefully this video was helpful, and if it was, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section. Also, if you know anybody else who could benefit from this information, make sure you share this video with them. And as always, thanks again for watching.